coach David Shaw, and junior quarterback Andrew Luck. Coach, we'll just have you make an opening remark, and then we'll take questions from the group.
Well, first, we're excited to be here. This is kind of the beginning. This is what helps us start ramping up. We know it's time to get going. I think for us as a team, we always look at every opportunity as we have something to prove. We work hard. We try to win every game we play. We are a humble group, and this is our leader here, and he exemplifies that as far as how we do our work and how hard we work, and that's pretty much what we're about.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions. Got front center.
Coach Shaw, can you just list what do you bring differently and some of the similarities that you bring that's different from Coach Harbaugh?
Well, I think the big thing is, I would say similarity first is that we're both competitive. Everything we do is about competition. Our practices, our meetings, everything that we do circles around competition. Our players feel that. They know that even if you're not a starter, if you compete hard in practice, you'll get a chance to play. That's the reason why we played 5 running backs last year. Stephon Taylor was phenomenal, had a great year. We had some other guys that earned the right to play. We do it at the tight end position, the receiver position, and that's just how our guys feel. We do it at the linebacker position. Some guys that don't start, if they work hard enough in practice, they'll get a chance to play in different sub packages. So every practice is vital. Everything that we do is vital because when it all boils down to it, our guys want to play and do the things that it takes to win football games. And that's the environment that Coach Harbaugh created that I will try to upkeep. Differences are minimal because our biggest differences are just we have different personalities. We have the same goals, we have the same competitive drive. We like to teach. I see myself as a teacher, and that's the environment that we've created down there.
Back left.
Thanks. Joe McDonald with FoxSportsWest.com. For both of you, David and Andrew, with the familiarity you guys have with each other, does it make the transition for you becoming the head coach a little bit easier on both of your parts?
You want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. You know, it's definitely nice not to have to learn a new scheme, a new offense. Coach Shaw recruited me. You know, he's been instrumental in my growth as a football player, and ever since I've been on campus. Yeah, so you know, continuity was definitely something a lot of the players were hoping for, in the you know when the coaching changes were being made. So it's definitely been easier for me, I think.
How about you, Coach?
I think it's been great. I mean, the focal point of every team is the quarterback, and having a quarterback that we know and that we trust and that will work his butt off, and we got him in place. That helps me a lot. Now we just concentrate on what goes on around him. But I think it's been great, a big part of my transition.
Coach, on the defensive side of things, you guys obviously changes there, and how is the effective? We're reading it's going to be a co-coordinator situation. Is that accurate, and how much do you think is going to affect the team?
Well, we do have co-coordinators. Derek Mason will make the call. He's the associate head coach and co-defensive coordinator. Jason Tarver, I gave him that co-coordinator title because he brought some great stuff to us from his 10 years in the NFL. And the mix of those two guys is phenomenal. Like an old married couple, they finish each other's sentences. They argue. They have mini meetings within meetings. It's a fun thing to watch. But at the same time, Derek knows he's making the call. There's going to be a lot of similarities. I think we've added a lot to the defense. But at the same time, we have some great defensive leadership in Shane Scove and Delano Howell and Michael Thomas and Chase Thomas, some guys that have played a lot of football and played at a high level. Those guys are going to set the standard of play.
Questions over here on the right.
This question's for Andrew. Do you plan on for sure going pro after this year? Because you will have another year left, so just wanted to let you in the speculation.
Great question.
No, I'm viewing this as my last college football season and approaching it like such.
Okay, I'll ask about the beard since we're all interested here. Hi. Is this something that's going to be, it's going to keep going to a specific time, or, I mean, can you expand on is this a Brian Wilson thing? I'm just trying to.
No, I honestly haven't thought past tomorrow about what to do with it. I've never had a beard. I'm hesitant to call it a beard. I don't think it's quite there yet. But I don't know. I've never done before, so why not try? We'll see if it lasts. When I get annoyed of it, I'll shave it.
I just hope his helmet fits.
Down here in the center.
Coach, a couple of questions. One, who was the biggest influence on your career and what you learned from him? And also, growing up through the ranks, how concerned were you the lack of black African-American head coaches was a concern to you going up in the ranks?
The first question, that's a really tough question. I'd have to say my father, because he's a football coach and I grew up in this business. And since I've been coaching, I would say between 10 to 50 times a year, just coming across people, I find people that tell me to say, hey, tell your dad I said hi. Tell him I always respected him. And that's what I want to leave. I want to leave a long string of guys that I've worked with and coached that say, you know, gosh, I remember those years that I worked with Coach Shaw, and I really appreciate him for how he helped me both as a football player and as a person. But I can't stop with just my dad because he was phenomenal. But John Gruden, I spent 5 years with John Gruden, and he beat me up. He trained me. He threw me in a dark room with mountains of tape to educate me. And I'm forever grateful to him, as well as I am to Bill Callahan. Bill Callahan, to me, was a big reason why I'm here right now. He taught me protections. He taught me the running game. And it was nice with those two guys. At the time, I didn't think it was that nice, but when I was with those two guys, it was hard. It was long hours, but I learned a lot of football. And besides that, I just playing for Bill Walsh for 3 years was an unbelievable experience because it was always like Bill was always a step ahead. Any room that he was in, he was the smartest person in the room. And to be around that's one of the reasons why I appreciate coaching, just being around a legend like that, and to have him instrumental in Jim Harbaugh's hiring process was all the more special for me. The second part, I'll put it this way. I was taught as a young man, you work your butt off and take what comes. Now, if that means there's more or less African-American coaches, et cetera, I think more than anything, it's when you have a chance to make your mark on a player, make your mark on a coaching staff, you make your mark on a team, an organization, a school, you do it in a positive way. And when you do that long enough and you're good enough at your job, you get rewarded eventually.
Far left over here.
This is a question for Coach Shaw, right over here.
Yes.
Most analysts, when they're reviewing the 2011 edition of the Stanford Cardinal, they'll acknowledge the talent coming back, certainly the quarterback that's coming back. But it seems like there's always a caveat. There's always people saying that Jim Harbaugh gave the team an edge, gave the Cardinal an attitude. And I was wondering how you respond to that, if you respond to it at all, or just what you think about that criticism, I suppose. I
agree with him. Coach Harbaugh came in and fought a lot of battles that I don't have to fight. My job is to maintain the competitive spirit. And like I said before, that's one of the things that he and I had in common. We were going to compete. We were going to fight. We have different personalities, but at the same time, you can ask the guys when somebody crosses the line, I will be nose to nose with them. I might not be yelling, but I'm going to be dead serious. There's a standard of play that we're going to play up to, and it's my job to make sure we do that.
Back right.
David, Chris Owusu missed 6 games with injuries last year. I'm wondering how much your success, you think your success depends on him being healthy, and which players in this very otherwise inexperienced receiver corps are you expecting to step up? And one last thing, who is going to coach the receivers?
Well, I'll start with the last question. Pep Hamilton will coach the quarterbacks and the receivers. They'll work closely together, going to meet together. I'll step in periodically. There will be times when we split, as he and I have talked, where I might work with the quarterbacks, he might work with the receivers, and we can switch at different times. He and I have spent a lot of time getting on the same page for the last couple of years. We trust each other implicitly. So we'll coach those positions together, but for the most part, Coach Hamilton will coach both those positions. Which part do you want me to answer next?
How about Owusu and the rest of your
Owusu, Chris knows. Since Chris's last surgery, I haven't said anything to him besides play every game. That's all I say to Chris. I say nothing else. I say, Chris, I need you to play every game. We will practice accordingly. We will make sure we take some of the pounding off of his legs early in training camp. We need Chris Owusu to play in every single game. We've got a talented but young and inexperienced receiving core around Andrew, and that's what training camp's going to be about. I can't tell you who's going to step up. All I'm going to tell you is they're going to have an opportunity to do so. The best thing I got hanging over their heads, we've got a very talented tight end group. And if the receivers don't step up, we'll throw the ball at tight ends. We don't care. You know, it's all about competition. Who earns that spot to play, they get to play.
Andrew, two-part
Same row in the back left.
Yeah, two-part question, Andrew. First of all, did you ever have a point in the off-season where you thought a second or third time about your decision to come back? And second of all, how good or how much better can you and the team be this year?
First, you know, I didn't really think about the decision after I made it. I've been very happy. I haven't had any regrets. You know, I love being able to represent Stanford University. I'm looking forward to doing that on the field this year. Secondly, you know, I think, you know, you always can get better. You always improve. I think this team has a lot of key leaders at positions that need leadership. Some great O-linemen, linebackers, secondary guys. So, you know, I think you know, we can constantly improve, and you know, we'll see where we go from there.
Any further questions? We got one more here down the center.
Andrew, how much has Coach Shaw meant to your development as a quarterback?
Oh, he's been huge. You know, like I said, he recruited me here. You know, it seemed like my redshirt year, you know, when I'm not playing, it always seems like it would be Coach Shaw who'd, you know, would take me aside every now and then during practice and say, you know, remember, you know, you're preparing yourself to play. Don't just take these scout team reps like they're nothing, you know, and different little things along the way. And obviously he wasn't coaching the quarterbacks per se at that point, but you know, he's been instrumental in teaching me, you know, the West Coast system and everything within this offense. So you know, he's definitely been a big part of it the whole way.
All right, Coach. Andrew, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.